Okay, I already know what you're thinking. How can you compare a stealth game to a first-person shooter? Look, this video is not me comparing the games themselves, because comparing these two would be like comparing Sonic the Hedgehog to Tetris. I'm comparing these two games because Halo 5 has been receiving a lot of complaints for things that can also be applied for Metal Gear Solid 5, but Metal Gear Solid 5 was met with universal acclaim. As was Halo 5, but Metal Gear, in my opinion, did get a little bit more special treatment, and I'm just going to be talking about the similarities between these two games and if they still apply to Metal Gear, because they apply to Halo. So let me talk about the basics first. These games were both released in 2015. They were both the 5th games in their respective series, not counting the spin-off games, and they were both easily the best in their genre. Halo, in my opinion, is the best first-person shooter. Metal Gear is the best stealth game. They both run at a rock-solid 60 frames a second. They're very smooth games. They both have 10 out of 10 gameplay, which automatically gives the game a 7 out of 10 in my book. And they're both my Game of the Year contenders. So let me start off with Halo. Ever since, I think even Halo Reach, the Halo fans have been criticizing Bungie, 343, whoever it be, for modernizing the game, for adding sprints. They'd say sprint isn't Halo. Aiming down the sight isn't Halo. Speed isn't Halo. Mobility isn't Halo. Loadouts isn't Halo. Well, I might agree with the loadout part. Everything else I completely disagree with, because if Halo stayed the same, people would diss it by calling it old milk trash. But now that they actually modernize it, speed it up, put it in a pace where modern shooters are supposed to be, they complain. But now that Metal Gear is modernizing it, people are loving it. Nobody's really been hating about the open world. But to me, I could do the same thing that the Halo fans do for Halo to Metal Gear. Open world isn't Metal Gear. Driving vehicles isn't Metal Gear. Having no indoor bases isn't Metal Gear. Short cutscenes with a shitty story isn't Metal Gear. See, we could all do the same things. It's just Halo gets it worse, in my opinion. Maybe because it's more of a multiplayer-centric game and more of a gameplay-focused game, but I still think it's a little unfair. And speaking of multiplayer, a lot of people complained about Halo not having split screen, and it does suck. I would like split screen, specifically for co-op campaign and, playing online with a friend locally. But no one really complained about Metal Gear removing the co-op feature, the online co-op feature. I don't know about you guys, but if I'm playing multiplayer games, 9 times out of 10, it's online. I prefer having the full screen to myself. I don't want to have the picture quality and my visibility butchered by having to share the screen with someone. So to me, I don't think split screen co-op is detrimental to anything. Barely any games have it now, and I understand it. This isn't the 90s anymore. We're not 12. But to me, online co-op is way more important. And they removed it from Metal Gear Solid 5. It was in Peace Walker. You're able to do 2 players for stealth missions and 4 players for boss battles. That feature's nowhere to be found. People actually bitched at Halo for this, but didn't bitch at Metal Gear at all. I think I was one of the only people to really complain about that. And speaking of boss battles, Halo 5 is getting a lot of shit for having the same recycled boss battle, the Promethean Wardens. I personally don't consider these boss battles. They are basically the Promethean Hunters. That's all they really are. And some people make the argument, hey, these guys are way harder than the Hunters. Come on, man. To me, the Prometheans in general are harder than the fucking Covenant. The grunt equivalent, the dog, is nowhere near as easy as the grunts are. The fucking Promethean Knights are way stronger than the elites. So it makes sense for the Promethean Hunter to be stronger than the Hunters, the Covenant Hunters. So that's one thing they complained about, and the same complaint could be made for Metal Gear. You fight the Skulls like 4 times. You fight Eli twice. And since most reviewers didn't even beat the goddamn game, they probably didn't even get to Chapter 2. And if you go to Chapter 2, you have to replay missions, and a lot of them are boss battles. You have to fight Quiet again. You have to fight Sahelanthropus again. You got to fight the Skulls again, so that really makes it 5 occurrences where you fight them. So if you want to talk about repetitive shits and repetitive boss battles in general, Why the fuck aren't you talking about this when you speak of Metal Gear? You wanna know why the critics didn't do that? Because they didn't even beat the game. Now let's talk about the multiplayer. I forgot to mention this earlier, but both of these games were reviewed incomplete. Metal Gear was reviewed without the PvP multiplayer, and Halo was reviewed without all the playlists and without Forge. So they're both incomplete, but both of these games have microtransactions, and they both caught a lot of flack. I'm gonna come in the defense of Halo right now, because when you buy a rec pack, it's basically random. You're not necessarily buying any specific thing. Let's say you buy a silver pack. You might get nothing but fucking mongoose and a piece of armor. How is that really going to give you that much of an advantage? It really depends, because you might strike gold. And to be honest, if anyone actually goes out and buys rec packs with real currency, let me know in the comments. I wanna do a podcast with you. I just want to pick your brain, know how your brain works. I just want to get to know you, because that is a waste of money. It's dumb, because earning rec packs isn't even hard. You just gotta play matches, and the more matches you play, the better you get. See, it's like buy rec packs is kind of like going to a casino and playing one of those games. You never know what the fuck you're gonna get. You don't know if you're gonna win anything. So I wouldn't do it, and I don't really think it's that crazy, because if you want to be competitive, Arena is the best place to go, and they're only cosmetic in Arena. And in what's it called, FOB, you could use microtransactions to build more FOBs. I guess it'll give you advantage there. And microtransactions in the player versus player, I believe, were only cosmetic. So I don't really have an issue with any of these. It's just they both got flack for it. I'm not gonna pretend that they didn't. But Halo's getting a lot of flack for it now, and I just thought this was a similarity, so I brought it up. And they're both, well, Metal Gear also had false advertisement, but Halo is the one that's getting flack for it. And the flack is coming from the whole Hunt the Truth campaign, where Chief and Locke are pointing guns at each other. It seems like this huge, crazy bout. And while there is a bout between the two, it is nowhere near as big as what it was in the trailer. And they're getting a lot of flack for that. And here's something they're not getting flack for. Well, not as much. They're not really holding this comment to a high standard, but I'm going to do it because I'm going to try to be fair. Josh Holmes, I think, or one of the people in 343 said that Halo 5 was going to be 16 hours. It's more like 7 to 6. Some people beat it in 4 hours and 30 minutes. You guys are probably rushing it and sprinting all the way through. I think the older Halos were actually pretty long because of the lack of sprint. But yeah, this Halo was short. It should have been longer. And that is bullshit that they said 16 hours. On Legendary, yeah, but that's bullshit, because we gave a lot of the older 1886 fans flack for saying, oh, the game's 8 hours if you play it on hard. It should be what they advertise on normal. That's just my opinion. So yeah, they did false advertise. And with Metal Gear, they false advertised numerous things as well. They said that the game adapts to you. That if you keep pulling off headshots, they wear helmets. That's not true. They wear helmets regardless of what you do. They put up cameras. They do whatever they do to hide insecurity regardless of how you play. So that was a fib. That was a lie. Kojima's like, oh, I'm going to be talking about these different taboos. It's going to make gamers feel ashamed. The only thing that made me feel ashamed was the ending, and I'm going to get to spoilers later. So I don't really notice any taboos to make me feel this bad. He also said that we're going to have to get used to Snake becoming a demon. In the trailers, you see Snake with his bloody-ass face, with a huge horn sticking out, fire in the background, making it seem like we're going to see Snake's descent into madness when we really didn't. We didn't. And the trailer also said that this is the missing link to the story. And just like the Halo 5 thing, they weren't wrong. Just like the Hunt the Truth campaign, they weren't wrong. It's just a shitty excuse for a missing link. Just like the bout between Chief and Locke was a shitty excuse for the Hunt the Truth shit. Another complaint was the story. They said the story for Halo 5 was lackluster. It wasn't as good as the other. It had an ending that left a bad taste in your mouth. It was a cliffhanger. You didn't really get any answers. Shit like that. The same could be applied for Metal Gear. There's many unanswered questions. It opened up more questions than answers. The story was barely there. The reviewers didn't beat the fucking game, so how could you review it and not give your full opinion on the story? They did that. They beat Halo, gave their opinion on it, deducted some points. Oh, okay. But Metal Gear, which had a worse story, because at least with Halo, there's gonna be a Halo 6. This is just build up for it. And though I would prefer it not being build up, we still have Halo 6 to fall back on, and we can't lose hope now. With Metal Gear, we've lost hope because Kojima's basically gone, and someone needs to clean this mess up, and Kojima seems like the only man who could do it. Now it's time for me to get into spoilers. In both of these campaigns, we get betrayed by someone close to us in these games. Master Chief gets betrayed by his closest ally ever, Cortana. She becomes a villain. And in this game, us the player not only gets betrayed by the real big boss, we get betrayed by Kojima. The real big boss abandons all his friends. He abandons you, his most trusted soldier, just to do his bullshit behind the scenes and start Outer Heaven behind the scenes. Instead of doing it with you, he sends one of his high-ranking soldiers to do his dirty work, and he doesn't even give a proper goodbye. He says bye through a fucking cassette tape. He just fucks Miller over, really a dick move, and most of it happens off screen. So to me, it's worse because Kojima is fucking you over because you thought you were gonna see the true missing link, but you got a really shitty excuse for a missing link, where you didn't see shit and got more questions than answers. And we thought that we were gonna see Big Boss turn into the guy who he was in the Outer Heaven incidents, but we didn't get to see that. We just heard about it and got certain implications because we weren't playing as Big Boss the entire time. And another complaint the story gets is, who the fuck is Locke? Why do we want to play as Locke? We want to play as Chief. In Metal Gear, who the fuck is this medic? Who the fuck are we? We want to play as Big Boss. To me, that's a bigger insult because Locke is actually his own character. He's his own guy. He's got his own personality. He may not be as cool or iconic as Chief, but he's still a cool character. Us, we're playing as fucking doppelgangers. We are playing as frauds. Okay? That to me is worse than playing as a new character entirely. Because we weren't fooled to be thinking that we were going to play with Master Chief. We were fooled to think that we were playing with Big Boss. And that is what gets to me most about this bullshit. And the fact that it was kept hidden to us, and the fact that the reviewers didn't even get to this point, really leaves a bad taste in my mouth because they were just sucking Kojima's fucking dick and balls reviewing this game. They weren't reviewing it like any other game was. To me, with Halo, I think most reviewers were kind of harsh. I think the game should be higher. To me, the only real complaint is the short campaign. The gameplay gives it a 7 out of 10 automatically. So I don't know how you're really giving it a 6. And I just think it's unfair bullshit. And us as consumers should wake up. Because they clearly had an agenda while they were reviewing Metal Gear. And some of the sites had an agenda while reviewing Halo, giving it a 6. I think that's crazy. You're out of your mind if you give it a 6, in my opinion. But reviewing Metal Gear without beating it and seeing the true fucking ending and twist, that ending is really detrimental to the review. That's all I'm going to say, and that's what I'm going to leave it at right now. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.